Welcome back, Sebastian here. So, second video today, and today I'll be looking at McLaren. So for McLaren, I think it's been a really poor start to the season, performance-wise. But let's get into it. So first I'll be looking at each race result, race by race. So in Bahrain, Norris finished 17th. Of course, that was a race where he finished 2 laps down because they kept having to pin him to put fluid in the car, and Piastri also retired from that race. Second race this season, not much better. 17th for Norris and 15th for Piastri. Third race this season is the big haul of points for the team. 6th place for Norris and 8th place for Piastri. So Piastri's first points in Formula 1. And it was very, very big haul of points there. So 8 points for Norris and 4 points for Piastri. So 12 out of 16 14 points that the team has come from that race alone. So massive haul of points, which I think is a little bit unrepresentative of the pace of the car right now. Azerbaijan, not Bahrain, Norris finishes 9th in the main Grand Prix, 17th in the sprint. Piastri finishes 11th in the Grand Prix and 10th in the sprint. Last weekend in Miami, Norris finished 17th and Piastri finished 19th. So now looking at the head-to-head, Norris is ahead 10-4 on points. In the race head-to-head, it's 3-1 in favor of Norris, and in the qualifying head-to-head, it's 4-1 in favor of Norris as well. Qualifying head-to-head is extremely close, 0.08 seconds in favor of Norris, so extremely close. However, that does include a result, I believe, from Saudi Arabia, where Norris basically clipped the inside of basically he broke his suspension in qualifying and only set 1 lap time in qualifying, and it was about 7 tenths or so behind off of Piastri's pace, which explains why the gap is as small as it is. So Norris has been ahead for most of the qualifying sessions, but still the average gap is very close. And I think Norris has been the better driver, but I think that was expected. That being said, I think Piastri so far is at least a bit better than Ricciardo was last year. And I think as a rookie coming into Formula 1, with a full year off of racing, I think that's really the most that we could have hoped for, going up against a driver of Norris's caliber. And I think he doesn't really have the car to get points every weekend, so I don't think getting consistent points like the team could get last year should be the expectation for Piastri. Now looking at something fun, average power ranking score, Norris has been 9.8 and Piastri has been 12.6. So both have been pretty good, about middle of the pack. Of course, the car is not very good, so it's very hard to kind of give them super positive scores when you're finishing 17th every race. Now for the constructors, at this point last year, McLaren had 46 points. So far this year, they have 14 points. That's almost about a quarter of the points that they had last year. In terms of gap to pole, it's not much better, although that being said, the McLaren did start very slowly last year. So the fact that they're worse than last year, I think, is definitely a really troubling sign. So last year, their gap to pole after 5 races was 1.152 seconds, which ranks 6 out of 10 teams. And this year, it's 1.334, which ranks 7th. So they're slower in qualifying. Despite that really horrible start, they somehow gotten even worse. And I think for McLaren, they really have a lot of issues on the car side that they really need to fix. That they have 2 very talented drivers, and they really need to give them the car that's capable. And I think they would have a really good chance of finishing 5th in the constructors if they had a capable car. But that being said, I think there's a lot of technical problems. I'm not going to get into this video with McLaren. A lot of data technology and stuff that I think is really holding them back. And I think they just need to make a semi-decent car and hope that Norris and Piastri get the most of it. And maybe there'll be a fight for 5th in the constructors. I think top 4 is not realistic this year. But I think for McLaren, the goal for the rest of the year is probably beat Alpine for 5th place. I think show good signs of forward progress towards the end of the year. So that's all from McLaren. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.